Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops, and this video is going to be an analysis of the preseason results. We're going to look through the stats, we're going to make some observations, and try to draw some conclusions. Heading into our drafts this weekend, I thought this would be the best video to drop today. If you're enjoying the content from Barack Lesnar Hoops so far, please smash that like button. Subscribe. You can click the little subscribe on the bottom right of this video. All right, let's get right into this analysis, and we're going to start actually with plus minus. So this is a great way to analyze a lot of information quickly and also identify players you may not know about. Because even if you're watching the games, there might be players you're not noticing just because they don't get as much attention and they're doing little things that are better analyzed through something like this, their statistics. So immediately it stands out to me, Zach LaVine had the highest plus minus in preseason. He did play 3 games, so as far as preseason, it's a decent sample size. Something to keep in mind when you're drafting. Over 50% field goal, hit over 2 threes at 40%. The rebounds and assist numbers equal to the turnover numbers, but 2.3 turnovers, not a huge deal. Decent amount of steals. Pretty good performance from him. I expected a great season from him anyways. You're probably going to have to pick him in that second round. Jaren Jackson Jr. Plus minus a 24.3. I love Jaren Jackson Jr. Love to see that. The field goal percentage was a little bit low. The free throw percentage was low as well, but 1 steal, 1.7 blocks, and he hit 2.3 3-pointers at 41%. Jaren Jackson Jr., if he stays healthy, is going to be a top round player, and you're able to grab him around 50. So Jaren Jackson Jr. is the man. Lonzo Ball. I'm very high on Lonzo Ball this year. He's improved significantly since his rookie year. He gets a lot of hate, a lot of because of his dad, but he has improved a lot as a basketball player. It did not help that his dad said that he was better than Steph Curry. That didn't help, but Lonzo Ball in his own regard is a really good basketball player. In preseason so far, I love what I'm seeing. Look at that, 48.3 field goal percentage and 52.9 3-point percentage on 3 threes. I love to see that coming from Lonzo Ball, because if Lonzo Ball gets his percentages up, he's going to be a first-round player. If he manages to be a 48% per game player, which I don't foresee, but even if he manages to stay at 46% and gets you 2 to 3 threes per game, and he continues getting you a bunch of steals and blocks, rebounds and assists, and he protects the ball and doesn't turn it over a lot, in that situation, Lonzo Ball is one of the best fantasy basketball players around. So Lonzo Ball, he may be getting slept on. I may have to start reaching for Lonzo Ball. John Morant, 63% field goal. He had a plus minus of 23.7, sample size of 3 games. Still no steals. 0.7 blocks from a point guard is nice. The turnovers, that's a lot of turnovers. So I am seeing here why John Morant can hurt your fantasy team. We're seeing it here. The field goal percentage is nice. The free throw percentage is nice, but the lack of steals, really high turnovers, the blocks, he's helping you there. As far as the threes, only 0.7 threes. That's like DeMar DeRozan like production. So, you know, DeMar DeRozan, he probably goes around the 60s. I think it makes sense to grab him around there. He can improve, but I'm going to need to see more steals and threes from him, or he's not really going to have that value. He's just going to be one of those players that's better in real life than they are at fantasy basketball. The reverse of that, a player who is better in fantasy basketball than he is in real life, though he is really good in real life, is Nikola Vujovic. Not surprised to see him up there. Some people have concerns that his role would decrease naturally with all the talent in Chicago, with Zach LaVine, with Lonzo Ball. with DeMar DeRozan, all players that are going to have the ball in their hands. Nikola Vujovic might be impacted. He's going to get less touches. But I think we're going to see a higher field goal percentage from him. So even if he gets less points per game, I could see a higher field goal percentage. And I could still see him getting you at least 1.5 threes, if not 2 threes per game. And that coming from a big is very valuable. And there's really no one on that Chicago Bulls team that's going to keep him from the board. So he's going to get you his rebounds. And with the talent on that team, I don't see why he can't get 2 or 3 assists in a game. He's going to get significant playing time. He's the best big man on that team. A big man is its own category when it comes to basketball. It's the other guys that are really competing with each other. Yes, he'll have less touches, but he'll also have less attention on him. Which means if he increases that field goal percentage to closer to 50%, that would give him a huge boost to his value. So even if his points per game went down some, I would still value him highly. So to see him performing well in preseason, love to see it. And as you can see here, a little bit of what I'm talking about. So the field goal percentage wasn't there, and the threes were not there either. So he took 4.3 per game though. So that I like to see. So he's taking a sizable amount. Again, this is preseason. This is a guy that's still warming up. These guys don't really get into peak form for the season until December, January. That's when you start to see it. A lot of guys don't even turn it on until after the All-Star break. So don't be impatient and don't put too much credibility into just preseason numbers. 9.3 rebounds, the 2.7 assists, really low turnovers. That's if he can keep the turnovers low, that's another factor that we have to consider. If he has the ball in his hands less, he could turn the ball over less, and that's going to help his value as well. And yeah, so double-digit rebounds almost. Once the field goal percentage normalizes, which it will, and he starts hitting threes, Nikola Vujovic is a very attractive player to me in the second round. I wouldn't pick him in the first for sure, but in the second round, he shouldn't be making it to the third round, in my opinion. Jalen Brunson, I mentioned him in my sleepers video. It was only in 2 games. He played 19 minutes, but he was plus 22. I've mentioned him as somebody you should consider especially in a deeper format if you have Luca Doncic. DeMar DeRozan, he was plus 20. And seen a little bit of, again, why I have concerns about DeMar DeRozan in category leagues. In points leagues, he'll probably be fine. But in these category leagues, field goal percentage, if he's not getting you 50% field goal percentage, that's going to lower his value a lot. A lot of his value is going to be contingent on his percentages. Threes, that 0.7, again, that's about what you can expect. Not much more than that. Free throw percentage, normally he's going to shoot 85% or more, so that 75% probably isn't there to stay. The rebounds and assists, the turnovers, no steals and blocks. I guess 0.7 blocks, but 0.3 steals, that's very harmful. It's just very harmful to your build. Steals are very valuable, and they're very rare. So since it's hard to find guys that get a lot of steals, you kind of want to get guys, load up on guys that get you at least 1 steal. That's how you're competitive in steals. Otherwise, you have to start focusing on, specialists that get you steals but harm you in a lot of other areas. Someone like Matisse Thybulle, for example. Buddy Hield's on the list as well. 31% field goal, 3.3 threes, any steals and blocks. No, so I think you're going to get similar production. I think he's hit his ceiling. I don't see massive leaps in his game. I think what you see is what you get with Buddy Hield. He makes sense, I'd say maybe in the 70s if you just want threes. Honestly, though, I have a hard time. With Buddy Hield. I don't think he does enough. I think there's players you could grab later on, like Tim Hardaway Jr., who do a lot of the same things. So it's kind of funny. Tim Hardaway Jr. is right next to him. But Tim Hardaway Jr. makes a good sleeper. Maxi Kleber, I think we've gone enough with plus minus. What other observations can we make? So, who led the league preseason in threes? So, Sam Merrill. How many games? So, in 2 games played, Sam Merrill, 7.5 threes, made 4.5 of them, and did it in 2 games. So, Sam Merrill, if you're in a deeper format, you might want to consider him, at least have him in mind if you're in one of those 20-team leagues and you're just looking at a bunch of names you don't recognize and you don't know which player could possibly help you. Keep in mind Sam Merrill led preseason in 3-pointers made. Joe Harris, one of my favorite sleepers, a guy you could still grab with one of your very last round picks. 4.3 3-pointers per game at 65%. Not going to do much else for you, but look at that, 63.6% field goal for a guy who hit 4.3 3-pointers. That is insane. He doesn't need to do much else for me. With how I build my teams, he ends up being incredibly useful for me, especially in giving me that boost to threes. I normally load up on enough steals and blocks guys that I can end up taking someone like Joe Harris and maybe somebody like Jordan Clarkson that don't help in that area but help me in a very real way in these other areas. The appropriately named Trey Murphy the third. Wow, that's a lot of threes. That guy was born to make threes. Trey Murphy the third. Trey Murphy the third was third. Well, technically he was tied with Joe Harris, and he had more attempts than Joe Harris. So he had 8 attempts per game and he made 4.3 of them. So somebody else that you may want to keep in mind in those deeper formats, Trey Murphy the third came in third. Jalen Brown with 4 3-pointers per game. Jaylen Brown, somebody who's improved significantly in fantasy basketball. I used to be apprehensive of him, and he's improved a lot. The field goal percentage was nice. And to see 4 3-pointers per game from Jaylen Brown, 83% free throw, a steal, a block. Yeah, Jaylen Brown might start playing himself into that first, second round conversation. So I think I'm starting to turn around on Jaylen Brown. I know some of my subscribers have been telling me that Jaylen Brown is the real deal, and it's starting to look like that may be the case. Actually, it is the case. Jordan Poole had a great preseason, played 4 games, scored 23.3 points per game at 51.6% field goal, made 4 3-pointers per game, 3.5 assists per game, 1.3 steals, half a block per game. Really strong preseason from him. Makes a lot of sense if you want to take a shot at him with one of your last picks. Klay Thompson is gone for a while. The soonest we might see him is maybe January, and even then, I doubt it. I'm thinking they're probably not going to bring him back until after the All-Star break, if they do it all. So, because if they're tanking the season, they might bring him towards the end just to get him ready for that following season. So, Jordan Poole might have long-term value. Max Strus, 3.6 3-pointers. He played 5 games in preseason. And now keep in mind, just because guys are getting minutes in preseason does not necessarily mean they'll get minutes during the regular season. It's a good indication, though, that they may be a valuable role player on the team and that the coach is just trying to prepare them to be a quality role player by giving them a lot of minutes in preseason. And it looks like Max is going to be a valuable role player. So, made 14.2 points, 3.6 threes at 48.6%, 83% free throw, no steals and blocks. So, probably going to be a Joe Harris type guy. And I'm not just saying that because they're white. I promise. I think he could be a Joe Harris type guy in that even without getting the ball a lot, he'll just be so efficient. He'll make a lot of threes, have a high field goal percentage, and just not help you in other areas. So in a very deep format, you might want to think of him as a Joe Harris light, an option you can pick up very, very late in a deep format because this guy is super slept on. Otto Porter Jr., speaking of people that are super slept on, I think he deserves to be picked with your last round pick in drafts because I seriously believe if he stays healthy, he's going to produce at the worst. At the very worst, he's going to perform at a top 100 level. And what did he do in preseason? 52.9% field goal percentage, 3.5 threes. He shot at 56%. Three free throws per game at 75%. Almost 6 rebounds, no assists, not something he helps you with. Got you a steal. So very useful production from Otto Porter Jr. Did it in 4 games. He's only 28 years old. He dealt with a lot of injuries, but if he's healthy, I think he's going to have a huge bounce back season, and people are going to regret sleeping on him. So I'm telling you right now, go into your draft and with that last pick, seriously consider picking up Otto Porter Jr. All right? I think it's a safe bet that he can beat where you're drafting him. All right. Anything else that sticks out to me? What other categories can we look at? Let's see. Rebounding. So Rudy Gobert we know about. Steven Adams. Steven Adams is somebody we can discuss. He's on Memphis now. And honestly, on paper, he's a great fit in Memphis. Memphis kind of has that gritty, defensive, tough style, and he fits right in with that. He's probably also going to get significant playing time. Now, my concerns with Steven Adams is, look here. Got you no steals. Got you no blocks from the center. The rebounds is nice. The assist is nice from a big man, but he got 3.7 turnovers. So almost 4 turnovers from your big man. No 3-pointers. Okay. The free throw percentage, 78%. If he could maintain that, that helps his value a lot. The super high field goal percentage, yes, useful as well. Still, though, not the biggest fan of Steven Adams. The steals and blocks he used to get are gone. Maybe we see that come back. We didn't see it in preseason so far. We didn't see it all of last season, and he was getting minutes. He hurt my fantasy team, and I think he can hurt yours, so proceed with caution. Micah Potter, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know who Micah Potter is, but I do know he averaged 11.3 rebounds per game in preseason and 3 games played, so something to keep in mind. Remember Micah Potter. If you ever hear that name later on in the season, remember he averaged double-digit rebounds in preseason, which again may not mean anything during the regular season. We're just taking educated guesses based on what we're seeing. Domantas Sabonis, we can expect that from him. Double-digit rebounds, that's nothing surprising. Jusuf Nurkic, double-digit rebounds. But Jusuf Nurkic, always injury concerns with him. Really disappointed me last year. 3.7 turnovers for a big that only got 2.3 assists. Not the biggest fan of that. Only 0.3 blocks. A lot of my value for Jusuf Nurkic was his blocks. The 80% free throw, I like that. Only 0.7 threes. I'm probably avoiding him this year, to be honest. If he has a great season, then next year I'm right back on that bandwagon. But for right now, I'm hopping off because I'm very disappointed. I was burning a top 3 pick, and some of you guys told me, made fun of me for it, and you guys ended up being right because I'm not always right. So Nikola Jokic, look, that guy, I did a calculation yesterday with #basketballs tool, and I punted assists to see what the rankings would be, and Nikola Jokic was still number 1. Even if you got rid of his assist, he was still number 1. So when you add his assist, he becomes number 1 by a country mile. So not much to have to discuss. Nothing we're really going to learn from preseason we don't already know. How about Clint Capela? What did we learn about Clint Capela? Well, we learned Clint Capela is dealing with an Achilles injury that he's been dealing with for some time now. He's been dealing with foot and Achilles issues. When he's playing, he's an absolute beast, but if he's being managed so heavily in preseason already, what's the regular season going to do? I think they're going to rest him because they want him to be ready for the playoffs. They made it really far last year, so they are set on making the finals. They made the Eastern Conference Finals. What's their next goal? The finals. So all of a sudden, someone like Clint Capela, his health for the playoffs is very important. So I would not be surprised if we see a lot of rest games for Clint Capela, just like we saw in preseason. That's really my main observation for Clint Capela for preseason. John Collins, on the other hand, should be the main beneficiary of Clint Capela getting rest games. He's still young, only 24 years old. What did he do? All right, 49% field goal essentially. Only half a three-pointer. Want to see more of that, more than that from him. 76.5 free throw percentage. That's low for his standards. 10 rebounds. The assists were low. 2.3 turnovers. 1.3 steals. I love. Want to see more blocks. If you could get me 1.3 steals and 1.3 blocks and keep that free throw percentage above 80%, I love what John Collins could bring. And again, Clint Capela will be a beast, but he will have red flags as far as that Achilles. Julius Randle. What did Julius Randle do? So Julius Randle, all right, so we got double-digit rebounds, 3.5 assists. Am I seeing that right? Only 1 turnover, 1.5 steals, half a block. Man, if he can get you 1.5 steals and keep the turnovers low, that would be huge for his game. And maybe he struggled in the playoffs, so I wouldn't doubt it if he worked really hard to improve and has an even better season and becomes a very nice fantasy asset. So Julius Randle had himself a very nice preseason. Keep that one in mind. Andre Drummond played 3 games, had 22 minutes per game, had 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 0.7 steals, 1.7 blocks. Definitely like the blocks. What was the free throw percentage? The free throw percentage, he drew 7 free throws and made 62% of them. So if you're going to pick Andre Drummond and you are not punching free throws, well, congrats, you're punching free throws. So you definitely want to have that in mind when you are drafting him. Wendell Carter Jr., Jason Tatum with 9 rebounds per game, 4 turnovers per game, but he also got you 2 steals per game. Jason Tatum makes sense to me if you're picking him at like 7, 8. I think is that ideal range for Jason Tatum. Wendell Carter Jr., one of those guys I identified as a sleeper. 64.3% field goal percentage. How many points did he score? So 12.5 points, 64.3 field goal percentage. The free throw percentage was average, but for a big man, 77% isn't the end of the world, especially again when we're comparing to someone like Drummond. 2 assists, 3.5 turnovers, like that. Now that I don't want to see. That's a lot of turnovers. If he's turning the ball over like that and only getting me 1 block, I would probably move on at some point. So he has to get that together. It's only preseason, but he did play 4 games. So an average of 3.5 turnovers from a big man that's not getting me blocks and not helping my free throw percentage. I don't like that. That's not a good fit. So I'm not saying not to draft him. I'm still going to draft him because I think his upside is real. But I don't like 3.5 turnovers per game from my big man. Precious. My boy Precious. Got 23 minutes per game, 12.4 points, 8.6 rebounds, 2 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game. I mentioned him in my sleepers video. Pascal Siakam injured to start the season. Chris Boucher injured to start the season. And we saw this last year with Precious. When Bam Adebayo was missing time, Precious would step up and we'd see that he could rebound and he could produce in limited minutes. So I'm not surprised to see this. He was part of that trade. They got Kyle Lowry over to the Miami Heat. So very impressed with his preseason performance. He played 5 games and he's probably going to have a decent role for the majority of the season because Toronto might struggle. So I think they're going to put some value into his production and into his development. Deandre Ayton doesn't look like he did a whole lot of scoring. Let's see if he did anything that's not typical. He did hit .3 3-pointer, so hopefully we see him attempt more. Looks like he only tried 1 per game, but if he were to get 3-pointers, that would increase his value a lot. His rebounds, nothing to write home about, but we know he can do it. 1.5 turnovers, 0.3 steals, 0.5 blocks. He did only play 17.9 minutes. We have to keep that in mind. There, like I said, with the Suns just made the finals. So just like with the Hawks, they are only championship focused right now. So Deandre Ayton's health is going to play a role. So that's probably why we didn't see him play a whole lot of minutes in preseason. I don't anticipate rest games for him during the regular season with him being only 23 years old. But the NBA is going in a very cautious direction. So we will see. Evan Mobley. So Evan Mobley, I'm starting to warm up. I don't think I want to draft him yet. Just because there's a lot of big men on that team, and rookies tend to be overrated as far as where they're drafted. So you end up drafting them like at their ceiling, which means pretty much the odds are you're going to have some downside. I'd rather draft a rookie like last year when I was getting Tyrese Halliburton at like 135 because no one really worried about him. That's a different situation than, picking someone in the top 100. Evan Mobley, what did he do? We'll give him a fair shot, though. 8.5 rebounds. Looks like he got 2 blocks per game. He played 4 games. All right, so see, there's things I'm liking for sure. 1 steal, 2 blocks. Field goal percentage is decent. No threes, but being a young player, that's something he's going to develop down the line. So Evan Mobley had a decent performance, and I'm starting to warm up on the idea that he could have a really good season, especially if he's blocking shots. This is a small sample size, and it is in preseason. So, keep that in mind when you're drafting. That's why I suggest safer options. That's why you haven't seen a ton of rookies being suggested in my videos. I was waiting to preseason to see really what stood out. All right, let's see what we can identify with assists. So Trey Young, 9 assists, 3 turnovers. Typical with what you're going to get from Trey Young. Low field goal percentage. 3 threes, that's nice. Hopefully we can get 3 threes consistently. He did only play 2 games, so these are small sample sizes. Chris Paul, 8 assists, only 2.5 turnovers. Nice field goal percentage. Looks like Chris Paul is ready to make another run at a finals. James Harden, I think he's an amazing pickup, and he's starting to be underrated. I've seen him fall last year and this year to, like 5, 6, and that shouldn't happen. So if James Harden falls to you at like 3, 4, 5, he should be your pick. 7. Now keep in mind, if you do pick James Harden, you would go the opposite of my regular advice to punt assist. Obviously, at that point, you would punt turnovers because he gets 4.3 turnovers per game, which is a sizable. He gets a lot per game. And if Kyrie Irving isn't playing, he's going to have the ball in his hands more, which means his volume production is going to be nice. He hurts your field goal percentage, but he helps you in so many other areas. 1.7 threes, we should see that improve. 57% free throw, we should definitely see that improve. The steals and blocks, he normally helps you there as well. So James Harden, someone to keep in mind. He is 32, so he's not a spring chicken anymore. So that is something else that is a factor. Kyle Lowry, really low field goal percentage, 7.3 assists, 2.7 steals. That I like to see. But an aging point guard, he's 35 years old. I have similar concerns with Chris Paul. The drop off with point guards is serious, and we've already seen him take a step back over the last 2 seasons. Luca Doncic looks like he's at that 48% field goal. The free throw percentage, very similar to what he had in the past. He played 20 minutes and only drew 1.3 free throws, which I find surprising. 7.3 assists, 1 steal. So, like we've discussed with Luca Doncic, and I discussed in my flawed video, it's he has these holes, and it looks like they're consistent holes. The areas he helps you consistently. The areas he hurts you consistently. He's still young, only 22 years old. He can improve. How much more can he improve? Only time will tell. Definitely doesn't really have a ceiling so far, but you know, if you pick him, he's gonna turn over the ball, which that is an observation. He only got 2 turnovers, but he only played 19 minutes. So he's playing 38 minutes. You're looking at that 4 turnover range, but you'd also be looking at that 14 assist range. So keep that in mind with Luca Doncic. Luca Doncic is a beast. He's just flawed. I would suggest watching my flawed early round players videos for some advice on how to build around him. Deangelo Russell. What did Deangelo Russell do? So he played 3 games, 21 minutes, had 15.7 points, 49% field goal, 2.7 threes, 6.7 assists, 2 turnovers, 0.7 steals, no blocks. So pretty nice preseason from Deangelo Russell. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He's not being drafted at a position where if you draft him, there's a ton of downside. He does have upside. I'm just not a fan because he doesn't get steals and blocks, and he tends to be streaky with his percentages. So I tend to avoid him, and I also worry about his health. He's been injured a lot of his career. Alex Caruso with 6.3 assists. I don't think he can do that consistently with all the people on that Chicago Bulls team that require the ball. Gabe Vincent with 6.3 assists. I'm going to say the same thing for Gabe Vincent, but in deeper formats. If you have Kyle Lowry, or you have Jimmy Butler, or if you have the Chicago Bulls, if you have Zach LaVine, or maybe you have Lonzo Ball in a very deep format like 16-team leagues, Gabe Vincent and Alex Caruso, maybe they make sense. Ricky Rubio, 5.8 assists. The field goal percentage was still low. The free throw percentage was nice. Only 1 turnover. He played 4 games, only 19.4 minutes. I don't see it for him. He's a veteran on a rebuilding team in Cleveland. I don't see it. He is playing with Kevin Love again, but I don't see it with Kevin Love either. So in a deeper format, if you value assists and his steals potential, and you could take the hit to your field goal percentage, it makes sense in that situation. John Morant, we already talked about him. Scotty Barnes, shout out to Scotty Barnes. So what did Scotty Barnes do? He is Kawhi Leonard without a shot, is what I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know he made no 3-pointers, 47% free throw on field goal. He played 27 minutes. He's on a rebuilding Toronto team. I don't know what they're in. They're just like in flux. I'm not sure what it is they're doing. Only 1.8 turnovers, 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks. And that I love to see. You see that speaks to me. 1.2 steals, 1.2 blocks, 47% field goal, 71% free throw. Only age 20. Yeah, he speaks to me. He stands out to me. Scotty Barnes, might want to consider Scotty Barnes. 14 teams or deeper. I'd see how many minutes he's getting during the regular season. He got almost 27, and he produced with his minutes. So 5.6 assists, 4.8 rebounds, with 1.2 steals and 1.2 blocks. That's really good production. So Scotty Barnes is on my radar, and he should be on yours. Looks like we had some games from Spencer Dinwiddie. What did Spencer Dinwiddie do? He had 5.3 assists, 1.3 turnovers, no steals. 0.7 steals, no blocks. Did he make threes? Yes, he made his threes, and the field goal percentage was decent, but Spencer Dinwiddie's lack of steals, low threes. We're going to need to see more threes. It's nice to see him back healthy. It's nice to see him getting minutes. I was concerned that he would be limited, but if he's playing 3 preseason games, they must really have faith in his health. So Fred VanVleet, if he's getting me assists, low turnovers, and steals, which he is. So That's what I like to get from Fred VanVleet. So speaking of steals, who were the steals leaders? So Kyle Lowry, Lonzo Ball, we've discussed. Steph Curry. Just trying to see if anybody sticks out. So yeah, Steph Curry immediately sticks out. He played 19.6 minutes, 55% field goal, hit 3 3-pointers at 54%, and he got 2.5 steals per game in preseason. He only played 2 games. He is 31 years old. He has a limited upside to help your team, but he's a boring 4th point guard in my opinion, but he can help your team for sure. Isaiah Joe, 2.3 steals with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he played 25 minutes per game. Probably not going to get much opportunity during the regular season, but still definitely interesting to see that type of ball thievery. Cam Reddish, too many mouths to feed on the Atlanta Hawks, and he still has spotty percentages, as you can see here with the 34.6 field goal percentage, 28.6 3-point percentage. Bojan Bogdanovic, 2 steals per game. Love to see that from Bojan. 14.5 points, 2 3-pointers. I've been shying away from drafting him. He left a sour taste in my mouth last year with some really bad stretches. He did turn it on at the end of the year when I most needed him, but you know, the lack of steals, the lack of rebounds, and then when his field goal percentage is really bad, he's a really hard player to own. So Brandon Ingram got himself 2 steals per game. He only played 1 game in preseason, though. He was dealing with an injury. Hopefully we see him healthy during the regular season, and hopefully steals do become part of his repertoire. DeAnthony Melton played 4 games, 19.4 minutes. He got 2 steals. DeAnthony Melton is a fun player to own, but he can be frustrating to own because he doesn't get the minutes to help you sometimes, and he's competing with Desmond Bane. We just see him not get 25 to 30 minutes. I would love to see him consistently get 25 to 30 minutes because he'd probably be like a top 60 player in that situation. So we'll see. It's another season. He's definitely worth a flyer in like a 14-team league. I don't think I'd draft him in a 12-team league. At least not yet, because he's probably on your waiver wire, but I definitely would have an eye on him for sure. Dennis Schrader with the Boston Celtics only played 1 game, so not really much to glean out of that. Alfred Payton is now on the Phoenix Suns, so maybe in a deeper format if you have Chris Paul. He makes sense as a handcuff, and he gets to learn from Chris Paul, so definitely some benefits there. Alfred Payton has played with the Suns before, so they clearly value him to bring him back. He's a decent backup to Chris Paul, and if you own Chris Paul and they're resting him, might make sense to have Alfred Payton if you're like in a 14-team league or deeper. All right, Chris Dunn with Memphis. I know in the past he's been a steals guy, but only played 1 game. Doubt he'll have much of a role. Matisse Thybulle only played 1 game. Let's go into blocks. Let's see who the blocks leaders were so we can round out this video. Mo Bamba, 3.8 blocks, 7 rebounds, 1.3 threes, 4.5. Man, that is some juicy production from Mo Bamba. Played 23. He's only 23. Played 4 games. Played 20.7 minutes. That's really nice production, especially if you're punting assists. Will he get the minutes? Hopefully. He's hitting threes and he's getting blocks, and I've told you guys those are my favorite players, so I might start picking Mo Bamba up at the end of my drafts. The guy's a legit 7-footer. He has legit length. Hits threes, gets blocks, has a high field goal percentage. What is there not to like? The only thing I don't like is that rotation of bigs there that all seem to get 20 minutes per game. Can he stand out? I think he can, but he's competing with Wendell Carter Jr. Can they play together? I don't know. I really don't. But I seriously think I'm going to start picking Mo Bamba up at the end of my drafts. maybe even towards that, like at the 100 mark, I might start taking a shot at Mo Bamba because he led all the preseason 3.8 blocks per game, and he did that in 21 minutes. 4 blocks per game in 21 minutes. That's insane. I hope you're following what I'm saying. Mo Bamba, target him at the end of your draft. He is a massive sleeper. Kelly Oubre got 3 blocks. He was injured for a lot of preseason, but Kelly Oubre's been getting slept on a bit. He could take minutes away from Miles Bridges. I think PJ Washington's role is going to be safe. I think his main competition for minutes is going to be Miles Bridges. He could play backup minutes to PJ Washington as well. We've seen him help your team in the past. He's a guy that can get you 3 steals and blocks, but his percentages were pretty spotty last year, and towards the end he got injured. So those are some things that we don't want to lose sight of. Bobo, 2.8 blocks per game. He's not going to get enough playing time on that Denver team to really make a difference, versus Mo Bamba on that Orlando Magic team does have a realistic opportunity to get minutes. So that's why I'm not going to regard them the same way. Brook Lopez, 2.3 blocks. Played 3 games, played 22 minutes. So nice to see him getting minutes. The percentages weren't where I want to see them, but 2.3 blocks from Brook. If he's getting me threes, he only hit 0.7 of them. So my concern with Brook is he's 33 years old now. He's 7 feet tall. He's a heavy guy. You know, he has foot issues. His fantasy upside is limited. He helps you for sure in a lot of different builds, but I'm worried that he's going to have a drop-off. Daniel Gafford. Well, Lonzo Ball also averaged 2.3 blocks and 2.7 steals, which is just wow. I don't even know if I mentioned that earlier, but wow. Lonzo Ball's quickly jumping up my fantasy radar. Daniel Gafford, 2 blocks per game, 22 minutes per game, played 3 games, and he's going to get significant playing time on that Washington team. So if you want a low-end double-double guy, if that has shot blocking potential, Daniel Gafford makes sense for you. And yeah, I'd say I'm going to wrap this one up. Fantasy points. These were the top fantasy points producers. See if there's anyone that sticks out in my mind. Montrezl Harrell, did we cover him? He played 3 games, 21 minutes, 7.7 rebounds. So typical Montrezl Harrell production. He's going to give you 14 points, 7 rebounds. He's going to give you like close to a steal, close to a block, bad free throw percentage, and good field goal percentage. But even here looks like he made 81% of his free throws. So if he's hitting his free throws at that rate, that would increase his value, and he would make sense at the end of a draft as a 4th center. I like him a lot as like your 4th big. Okay. And yeah, I'd say that's it. I'd say we did a very thorough breakdown of preseason and the players that really stood out. Who stood out to you? What did you learn? Who are you going to consider drafting that you weren't considering before? Leave a comment below. I would love to hear it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be recording some of my drafts this weekend, and I'm going to upload them. You guys have been asking for some drafts, so I will upload some of those live drafts. Hopefully they are out in time for them to be useful for your draft, but if they are not out in time, I invite you to watch the rest of the videos on my channel. There are cards that I put above on this very video. There are videos I put on the end screen, and I do so strategically because they are going to help you absorb the knowledge you need, so when you're in the draft, you're making the right decisions. All right, guys, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is Barack Lesnar of Barack Lesnar Hoops. Oh, before I finish, I am still offering my services. If you would like for me to draft your team, pay me $60. Leave a comment below. I will draft your team for you. I make no guarantees. There are too many factors. You are gambling. I can't give you a guarantee with a gamble. I will guarantee that I will draft you a team that is good, that is creatively structured, that is structured to maximize the players that we pick, a team that has talent. I can't account for injuries. There's things I can't control, but I will give you a good team you're happy with. If you would like that service, comment below, let me know, and we will be in touch. Or you could send me an email at thebaracklesnar@gmail.com. All right, guys, take care.